What if I told you that the key to unlocking a woman's interest lies in your ability to step back? Picture this. You've been chasing her for weeks, putting in every effort to win her over. But then, just like that, you disappear. No calls, no messages, nothing. What happens next is nothing short of astounding. In today's video, we're diving deep into the psychology of attraction through the lens of Stoicism. By pulling back your attention, you're not just changing the game, you're changing the entire narrative of your interactions. This isn't merely about dating, it's about harnessing the power of self-control and strategic detachment. When you stop running after women, you create a remarkable shift that can ignite her curiosity and awaken her primal instincts of competition. Get ready to explore the depths of the female mind as we reveal the secrets that will not only captivate her, but also transform your approach to dating forever. Are you prepared to become the man she can't stop thinking about? Let's jump in. And remember, if you find this content valuable, please like and subscribe for more insights that will elevate your dating life. Number 1. She becomes intrigued. Imagine this. You've been chasing her like a kid chasing after a dream, always the one reaching out, always the first to initiate, always making yourself available. Every morning, you send that text. You make sure you're in places where she might be, hoping she'll notice you. But then, one day you just stop. No more good morning messages, no more trying to run into her by accident. It's as if you've disappeared from her world, and for a moment, she's left with nothing but silence. Now, what do you think will happen next? This is where the dynamic changes completely. By pulling away, you're breaking the usual pattern she's gotten so used to. Suddenly, her mind is racing. What just happened? Why did he stop? You've become a mystery, something unsolved that she can't quite figure out. And this, my friends, is where intrigue begins to take hold. This shift aligns perfectly with the teachings of Stoicism. Instead of pushing for control, you allow things to unfold naturally, without being desperate for a specific outcome. Human nature is curious, especially when something doesn't go as expected. When you stop chasing, when you stop giving her all your energy, she starts to wonder about you. She'll glance at her phone, checking if maybe she missed a message from you. She might hear your name in conversations and listen a little closer, wondering what you're up to. Suddenly, the balance has shifted, and you're no longer the one in pursuit. She's the one left wondering where you've gone, what you're doing, and why you're no longer seeking her attention. Think about it. The more you chase someone, the more they feel they're in control. You hand them all the power. But when you pull back, when you stop actively seeking validation, something incredible happens. You regain your power. Now she's thinking about you more. Not because you're chasing her, but because your absence has created a space for her curiosity to grow. It's in that space where she begins to wonder if she missed something important, if she somehow lost your interest, or if you've moved on to something or someone else. This, in itself, is a reflection of Stoic wisdom. Chasing after someone, constantly seeking their approval, is a form of attachment. But when you pull away, when you detach yourself from needing her attention, you not only free yourself from the anxiety of pursuit, but you also become more attractive in the process. Your confidence and self-assuredness shine through because you're no longer dependent on her validation to feel secure in who you are. Here's the real kicker. People are drawn to what they can't easily have. When you stop chasing her, when you become that unsolved mystery, she'll find herself thinking about you more and more. Not because you're playing mind games, but because you've become something intriguing, something that makes her wonder. You've taken control of the narrative by simply stepping back and letting her curiosity fill the gaps. And in doing so, you've transformed into the most captivating part of her day. She'll feel the shift, and before long, she'll be the one chasing you, trying to figure out why she can't stop thinking about you. And that, my friends, is how you turn the tables without lifting a finger. You become the puzzle she wants to solve, the mystery she can't quite shake. By no longer needing her, you become the man she's suddenly drawn to. The more you focus on yourself and your own peace of mind, the more magnetic you become. Number 2, she starts to reflect. Here's something intriguing. When you step back, something powerful begins to unfold in her mind. Your absence doesn't go unnoticed. In fact, it becomes the catalyst for her to reflect on her behavior in ways she may have never considered before. It's as though you've held up a mirror, and for the first time, she's forced to see herself through a different lens. Suddenly, she starts to question every little detail. Was she too dismissive when she canceled plans? Did her responses seem uninterested, or was her laughter at your jokes just a little too forced? She starts to wonder if her behavior was part of the reason you've pulled away. This is where it gets interesting. Her mind becomes a courtroom, with her as both the defendant and the judge. She revisits conversations, examines every text, and dissects past interactions, looking for clues. Did she say something wrong? Was her attitude too cold? It's not just a passing thought. It's a deep, introspective process where she begins to analyze herself from a perspective she hadn't before. She's digging through the archives of your relationship, and in doing so, she's forced to take a hard look at her actions, her attitude, and even her emotional availability. But why does this happen? It's because your absence has created a void, a silence where once there was constant pursuit. This void makes her question not just the relationship, but herself. And here's where the wisdom of Stoicism comes in. By stepping back, you're practicing emotional control and detachment, key principles of Stoicism. Instead of reacting to her behavior by chasing or trying to fix things, you've chosen to focus on yourself. You're not driven by the need for approval or validation. As Epictetus said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. You've chosen not to chase, but to let her come to her own realizations. This shift often leads her to a surprising conclusion: self-improvement. She starts to see that she may not have been as engaged as she should have been, or that she's taken your interest for granted. Perhaps she realizes she didn't put in the effort, and now, with the space you've given her, she begins to make changes. This reflection allows her to grow, to become more aware of how she's treating you and others. And that's the beauty of Stoicism in relationships. You're allowing her to come to these conclusions on her own, without needing to manipulate or force any outcome. While she's going through this process, you're out there living your best life, focusing on your own growth and goals. You're not sitting around waiting for her to come back. You're embodying the Stoic ideal of resilience, moving forward regardless of the outcome. This is a powerful position to be in. You've mastered the art of detachment and self-control, knowing that your value doesn't come from her attention, but from within yourself. When you finally decide to re-enter the picture, you'll likely find that she's gone through a transformation. She's more engaged, more appreciative, and perhaps even more drawn to you than ever before. Why? Because your absence allowed her the space to reflect, to recognize what she might be missing. It's a win-win situation. You've both grown, you've both improved, and now the dynamic has shifted in your favor. So remember, when you stop running after her, you're not losing anything. In fact, you're gaining the upper hand by practicing emotional strength and giving her the opportunity to reflect and grow. This is the essence of Stoic power in relationships, letting go of the need to chase and allowing both of you to evolve into better versions of yourselves. Before we dive into the next point, let's take a moment to reflect on the power of this approach. By embracing emotional control and detachment, you're practicing one of the most powerful Stoic principles. Your value doesn't come from someone else's validation, it comes from within. If this message resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your experiences. Or simply type, "My value comes from within myself." Your insights and reflections are what make this community stronger, and I appreciate each one of you for being a part of this journey. Now, let's move on to the next point. Number 3, she recognizes her feelings. Imagine you've been running in circles, trying to catch someone's attention, pouring effort into every conversation, every gesture, every moment. But then you stop, not out of frustration or defeat, but because you've come to a powerful realization, one rooted deeply in Stoic wisdom. By no longer chasing, you've given her something she didn't expect, the space to truly think about you. This is where everything changes. It's like a shift in the air, an almost imperceptible difference. Suddenly you're not there as often, your attention isn't always at her disposal. And just like that, the dynamic flips. When you step back, it's as though you've triggered a spark in her mind, a light that she didn't know existed. She begins to feel something she hadn't felt before, a recognition of her own emotions that had been hidden beneath the surface. This concept ties directly to Stoicism, which teaches us to let go of what we cannot control and focus on our inner world, our own actions, our own behavior. When you stop pursuing, you're no longer clinging to external outcomes, such as her reactions or attention. Instead, you focus on yourself, cultivating your inner peace, your strength, your self-worth. And in doing so, you allow her to reflect on what she truly feels for you. Before, when you were always present, texting, calling, making plans, there was no need for her to think about what your presence meant to her. She may have even taken it for granted. But now, in your absence, a void appears, and nature despises emptiness. She starts to notice the things she had overlooked, those small moments when your words made her smile, the comfort she felt knowing you were there. It's like you've hit the pause button on a movie, and now she's replaying all the highlights in her mind, those moments that were too easy to forget when you were always around. This is where the real power lies. As Marcus Aurelius often said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." By stepping back, you've created a situation where your absence becomes the very thing that makes her realize how much you meant. She starts to reflect. Maybe she catches herself smiling at a joke you told, or perhaps she notices how much quieter her phone is without your messages. Each small realization builds upon the last until it culminates in a powerful understanding. You brought value to her life that she didn't appreciate until you were gone. It's important to remember that this process isn't instantaneous. It's slow, like a smoldering fire that eventually catches flame. She might begin to daydream about you, wondering what you're up to, who you're with, and more importantly, why you're not there. She starts feeling that pang of absence, and it forces her to confront her own emotions. The best part is that she's reaching this conclusion entirely on her own. You didn't have to convince her. You didn't have to change her mind. It's happening because you gave her the space to feel it. So, gentlemen, the most effective way to win her heart, might not be through constant attention and effort. It could be through the quiet strength of stepping back and letting her come to terms with her own emotions. Let her realize what she had when she had you, and when that moment of clarity strikes, it will be all the more powerful because it's her decision, not something you pushed. That's the power of Stoicism in action. Control yourself, and the rest will fall into place. Number 4. Evaluating your worth. When you take a step back and stop constantly seeking her approval or attention, something profound begins to happen. You become like a rare and valuable treasure that suddenly everyone notices. But the key difference here is that by removing yourself from the chase, both you and she start recognizing your true worth. Imagine this: when you were always available, always around, it was easy for her to take you for granted. She might not have seen the depth of what you were offering. But now that you've created distance, it's as if you've lit up a spotlight on all the ways you enhanced her life. She's no longer focused on your presence, but on your absence. And that absence? It speaks louder than any words could. Suddenly, all those qualities she overlooked begin to stand out. Maybe it's the way you always made her laugh when she was having a bad day, or how you knew exactly how to support her when she was feeling down. Maybe it's the small but thoughtful gestures, like remembering her favorite song or bringing her favorite snack when she needed comfort. Now, she's left alone with her thoughts, reflecting on the countless ways you added value to her life, ways she may have never even fully appreciated before. It's as if she's taking inventory of her experiences, and those little voids where you used to be are becoming impossible to ignore. The subtle, shared moments, the inside jokes, the spontaneous texts, the knowing looks across a room, are now playing on repeat in her mind. What was once routine is now something she longs for. From a Stoic perspective, this shift isn't just about her noticing your absence. It's about you reclaiming your sense of self-worth. By stepping back and no longer seeking validation, you're practicing a core Stoic principle: valuing yourself and not attaching your happiness or identity to someone else's approval. It's not about manipulating her emotions. It's about you recognizing that your worth isn't defined by how much attention or affection you can get from someone else. When you stop running after her, you take control of your own narrative. And as you're out there living life on your terms, investing in your own happiness, pursuing your goals, and focusing on your growth, she's realizing how much her best moments involved you. She starts to miss the times when you were the one person she could rely on, the one who added laughter, support, and warmth to her life without demanding anything in return. What's happening is that she's beginning to appreciate your value, not because you begged for her attention, but because you chose to step away and let her feel the void. So, while you're out enjoying life, learning, and growing, she's coming to a realization that she may not have had before, that you were not just an option, but a significant part of her life. And trust me, my friend, when that realization hits, it's as if she's discovered something truly precious, a gem that was always there, but only now fully recognized. And that recognition? That's where your power lies. You've stopped running, but now she's the one starting to chase. As we move on to the next point, let's take a moment to reflect on the power of knowing your worth and stepping back to allow others to recognize it too. When you stop chasing and start focusing on yourself, you're not just reclaiming your value, you're taking control of your life and your happiness. If this resonates with you, I encourage you to hit that like button and share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. And if you truly feel empowered by this message, go ahead and type, "I take charge of my life," below. Let's keep growing together. Number 5. Increased attraction. We've all heard the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And while it may sound like a cliché, there's deep truth to it. But there's a deeper layer when you combine it with the wisdom of Stoicism. When you step back, you don't just create absence. You create intrigue, mystery, and above all, a sense of value. Let's break this down. Imagine you're no longer constantly texting, calling, or trying to impress her. Instead, you've shifted your focus onto yourself, your goals, your ambitions, your self-improvement. From a Stoic perspective, this is where your true strength lies. You're no longer driven by the need for validation or emotional reassurance from her. You're centered in your purpose, and this quiet confidence speaks volumes without you uttering a single word. Now, picture how this looks to her. You're not blowing up her phone or bending over backward to win her approval. You've become someone who isn't readily available, and suddenly, she's intrigued. She starts to wonder what you're doing with your time. Are you out there chasing your dreams? Are you investing in yourself, your career, or your passions? The mystery grows. You've become a puzzle. And trust me, nothing captures interest quite like an unsolved puzzle. This distance allows her to paint pictures in her mind of who you might be becoming. She starts to think about you differently, noticing qualities that may have been overshadowed by your past pursuit. Your absence gives her the chance to reflect on all the positive traits she found attractive in the first place. Your charm, your ambition, your ability to make her laugh. It's almost as if she's seeing you in a new light, a light that grows brighter because you've stopped running after her. The Stoics teach us that external events, like the approval or disapproval of others, are outside our control. What we can control is our response, our actions, and our mindset. By stepping back, you're exercising this control. You're showing that your happiness and fulfillment aren't dependent on her presence. This is incredibly powerful because it projects an image of self-respect, independence, and inner peace, qualities that are magnetic on their own. As you let go of the need to chase her, something remarkable happens. She starts to feel the shift. Maybe she's used to being the center of your world, and now, with your attention elsewhere, she begins to feel your absence. That absence creates a void, and in that void, her attraction grows. She starts to imagine where you are, what you're doing, and why you're no longer available. That mystery pulls her in deeper. But it's not just about what she imagines. When you stop chasing, you convey an undeniable message. You value yourself. You're not willing to sacrifice your dignity or self-respect for anyone's attention. This is where the Stoic mindset shines. You remain calm, composed, and detached from the need for her approval. You are focused on what you can control, your own life, your own growth. And that speaks louder than any words or grand gestures ever could. Over time, she will begin to miss you, noticing every little thing about you that once captured her attention. Maybe it's the way you always seem to know exactly what to say, or the way you carried yourself with quiet confidence. Maybe it's your drive, your laughter, or the moments of connection you shared. In your absence, all of these qualities become more vivid, more desirable, and she will begin to see you in a new light. Gentlemen, this is where the paradox of attraction becomes clear. Sometimes the most powerful action is inaction. By doing nothing, by not chasing, by not overwhelming her with attention, you allow her to come to you. You create a space where her interest grows organically, without you forcing it. Number 6. Her priorities realign. Think about it. When you're always there, she might not recognize the subtle things you bring to her daily routine. Maybe your conversations brightened her mood, or your presence brought her comfort. But she took it all for granted because it was always accessible. The moment you pull away, though, the silence you leave behind makes her think. She starts to reflect on what's missing, and more importantly, on why she didn't value it before. This change is not just psychological, it's also a practical demonstration of a Stoic principle: letting go of what you cannot control. Stoicism teaches that by focusing on yourself and not attaching your happiness to the actions of others, you reclaim your power. By stepping back, you're not manipulating her emotions. You're simply giving her the space to recognize your worth on her own. For example, if you've been texting her constantly, always the first to initiate, she might grow accustomed to it, thinking your attention will always be there. But once you stop, that absence makes her notice. She starts to question why you haven't reached out, why she no longer feels that comfort or joy from your texts. This creates a shift where she starts to think more about you, perhaps even missing the very attention she used to overlook. When her priorities realign to include you, it's no longer a matter of casual interest. It's a sign that she values your presence and is willing to invest in you. And here's the important part. This shift wouldn't have happened if you hadn't taken that step back. By embracing Stoic wisdom and letting go of the need to chase her approval, you allow her to realize your worth in her own time, on her own terms. In sum, when a woman begins to shift her focus to include you, it's a powerful sign that she's not just interested, she's invested. This realignment of priorities only happens when you stop chasing and allow her to come to you. So remember, sometimes the best way to move forward is to step back, let go, and trust that what's meant for you will find its way. Number 7. The fear of losing you. Picture this. The moment you stop chasing her, everything changes. It's as if you've flipped the script, and she no longer has the certainty of your constant pursuit. What was once a game of you trying to win her attention has now turned into her wondering why you're no longer chasing. This shift ignites a deep sense of fear of losing you. When something we're used to suddenly becomes distant, it triggers a natural reaction. We start to value it more, because now it feels like we could lose it. This is a powerful psychological dynamic rooted in human nature. We want what we can't easily have, and when you pull away, you create that scarcity. You become a mystery, a rare prize that's no longer easily accessible. Suddenly, she's thinking about you more often. You've gone from being predictable and available to elusive, and this uncertainty stirs her emotions. She might start checking her phone repeatedly, hoping for a message from you that doesn't come as frequently as before. She begins to wonder if she made a mistake, if she said or did something that pushed you away. And in that space, the fear of losing you starts to grow. Here's where the idea of Stoicism blends seamlessly into this situation. By no longer chasing her, you've shown that you're in control of your emotions, that your worth isn't tied to her validation. You've become indifferent to the outcome, which is a core Stoic principle. Instead of reacting emotionally or trying to force a connection, you've created an aura of calm detachment. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you understand your value, and you're not willing to beg for someone's attention. And what happens next? That fear of losing you often sparks her into action. The absence of your pursuit becomes glaringly obvious, and she starts to feel the shift. She may begin to reach out more, send more texts, try to reignite the connection. She becomes the one who's putting in the effort to maintain the relationship. In a way, she mirrors the energy you once gave, trying to regain what she feels is slipping away. Think about how this aligns with Stoic wisdom. By stepping back, you've allowed her to see the value of what she had when you were fully engaged. You've given her space to recognize what she stands to lose. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding the natural balance of relationships. When you stop running after her, you aren't playing games. You're simply focusing on yourself, your own growth, and your own peace of mind. And in doing so, you've given her the chance to step up. This shift is powerful, but it comes with responsibility. As a Stoic, you must lead with self-respect, not with the desire to control. The moment you pull back isn't to manipulate her into caring, but to remind yourself that your happiness isn't dependent on someone else's validation. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to chase what doesn't serve you. When you stop running after her, you create the opportunity for her to appreciate your presence, to fear its absence, and to reflect on what it means to have you in her life. Ultimately, the fear of losing you works because you've shown that you don't need her to complete you. You've demonstrated that you're whole on your own, and that's where the real power lies. If you're resonating with this idea, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced this shift in your own life? Drop a comment below sharing your story, or simply type, "I'm whole on my own," if that message speaks to you. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more insights like these. Your support means a lot as we continue exploring these powerful concepts together. Now, let's move on to the next point. Number 8. Igniting her competitive spirit. When you were the one constantly pursuing her, the balance of power was in her hands. She could sit back and enjoy the attention without having to lift a finger. But as soon as you remove yourself from the game, the power shifts entirely. Now, instead of you seeking her approval, she finds herself in a position where she feels the need to win yours. It's not just about gaining your attention anymore. She's suddenly aware that other women could catch your eye, and that ignites a fire within her. It's important to recognize that this competitive drive isn't purely about jealousy. Sure, that might be part of it, but at its core, it's about her proving something to herself. She wants to show that she's the one worthy of your attention, your time, and your energy. The moment you stop running after her is the moment she starts realizing she can't take your interest for granted. Now, you might start noticing subtle yet significant changes in her behavior. Maybe she's putting extra effort into her appearance whenever she knows she'll be seeing you. Perhaps she's showing a newfound interest in the things you enjoy, sports, music, or even those quiet places you like to frequent. She's trying to place herself in your world, hoping to remind you of why you liked her in the first place. In essence, she's becoming the female version of who you were when you were chasing her. And the irony? The more you pull away, the more she'll feel compelled to close the distance. But here's where it gets even better. This competitive spirit doesn't just push her to win you back. It also brings out the best in her. She's not only striving to earn your attention, but she's also pushing herself to be the best version of herself in the process. Whether consciously or not, she starts leveling up. The effort she puts into impressing you also improves her as a person. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism comes into play. Stoic philosophy teaches us the power of self-control, patience, and understanding that we can't control others, only ourselves. By choosing to step back and not letting your emotions drive you to constantly chase her, you exhibit a calm confidence that can't be faked. You show her that your value doesn't come from her validation, but from within. You're not seeking her approval, and that in itself makes you more attractive. As you lean back, you allow her space to engage with you. You stop allowing your need for her attention to dictate your actions. You're showing her, through your lack of pursuit, that you are content with who you are and where you are in life. This unbothered stance is what ignites her competitive spirit, making her realize that if she doesn't act, someone else might. In the end, you've transformed into something she didn't expect. Someone worth pursuing, someone worth fighting for. You've become the prize in a game she didn't even know she was playing, and her competitive nature will drive her to rise to the challenge. So, gentlemen, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let her come to you. In doing so, you not only spark her competitive nature, but also embody the Stoic ideal of inner peace and self-assurance. You aren't chasing anyone. You're simply allowing the universe to unfold naturally. And in this space, she will either rise to meet you, or you'll have the freedom to walk away, knowing that your worth was never dependent on her in the first place. As we conclude today's discussion, remember that the key to unlocking a woman's interest often lies in stepping back. By doing so, you not only shift the dynamic, but also give yourself the power of control and self-worth. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within, and by focusing on yourself instead of constantly chasing, you naturally become more attractive. You give her the space to reflect, and in many cases, she'll realize what she's been missing. This isn't about playing games. It's about showing self-respect and embodying confidence. When you stop seeking validation from others, you regain control of your life and project a calm, assured energy that naturally draws people in. If this message resonated with you, drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more insights like these. And be sure to check out the recommended videos on screen to continue your journey toward mastering the art of attraction. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.